Hi everyone, it's Penny Black and Jill Foster here with a new PB&J card class, and this is number 7 in a series of 11 videos of stash busting sketches with our Share Your Love collection. So I love to use sketches because they're a great way for me to use my stash as they provide a home for whatever it is I'm wanting to use. And today's sketch is just a very simple sketch and simple preparation. So I like to prep my basic sketch items in advance, and for this one I'm using Penny Black Stitches of Love frame die set, and I've cut this using Canson 140-pound cold press watercolor paper, and I've cut it at a couple of different sizes, and I love that the stitches on this are different for each size, so you can get a lot of variety with just one die set. And I just crank this through my die cutting machine and cut a whole bunch of them. Now, just a reminder that for all the sketches included in this Share Your Love series, I've put them together in an ebook for you with a 2-page spread for each video, and I'll put a link for that down in the YouTube description box if you'd like to check it out and show your support. So once I had those all die cut out, I went ahead and stamped them. I stamped some of my images with Memento Toffee Crunch ink. Some I have stamped with Memento Gray Flannel ink, and some with Ranger Archival ink in the color of watering can. So it's kind of moving from a light to dark, and each will give a little bit different look once they are painted in. So here are some more that I've stamped, and this is a sketch I love to go to whenever I'm doing some stash busting. I like to have these frames, these panels cut ready to go so that when I have a stamp set out and I'm making maybe a more intricate card with it, I can also just go ahead and stamp it down onto these panels, and then they're ready to paint at any time. So I'm just giving you a look here again at that beautiful stitching, but I also did a card without any stitching, so you can do very simple as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and paint these all using my Sakura Koi Field sketch box. I've got my brush here. I just wanted to show you, I had some questions about how I keep a fine point. If you rewind there, I kind of twist it as I pat it dry on my paper towel, and that will keep that at a nice fine point for you. I've also added some Arteza tube watercolors into my Sakura Koi Field sketch box just for a light pink and a light tan that I find I really like when I'm painting these in. So by prepping all those frame or stitched edges, die cutting, and doing all the stamping at once, now I have a stack of things ready for me to paint whenever I am in the mood to paint. Sometimes I want to do just a very simple 1-layer card. I don't want to do a lot of different layering or a lot of thinking, and so it's nice just to have these ready to go. I also find I'm much more likely to use things from my stash if I have at least stamped them once. So if I just get in there and stamp them once and make a simple card with them, I'm much more likely to use them over and over again rather than if they are just sitting and haven't ever been stamped. So in this guy, I am starting by painting the background, kind of using the water to spread it out and lighten it, and then because the paint will move wherever the surface is wet, and give him a little bit of ground to stand on down here. I love these newest hedgy images from Penny Black because the size is so fantastic. They can stand on their own and be the focal point of the card, and I just feel like they're perfectly sized for the cuteness and also being able to make them the main element on the card. So I've done lots of cards with them. This is just another way that you can use them. I'm just playing around here with the background. So I actually went ahead and did all of the backgrounds at the same time. So I did all of my stamping, all of my backgrounds, and then I can go in and do my focal point images when I have a break. So you can even do your painting assembly line style if you want, and if you're not ready to make any more decisions besides green grass and blue sky. Next, I'm going in and adding some Toffee Crunch Memento ink around the edges and just lightly working my way in to overlap a little bit over that watercoloring. And now I'm going to use some background stamps In that same Memento Toffee Crunch ink, just to add a little bit of extra interest to these one layer cards. So this is from my stash. I think it's called Fragile Beauty. I'll have everything listed and linked for you down below. So I will list and link all of the penny black supplies I'm using. I will also list all of the colors of ink and paint and what brush I'm using and everything, paper listed for you down below as well. And I'll list a blog post for you that will show each card by itself with the images or the stamps used or dies used just on that card. So if there's a certain card you really loved or something in particular, you can easily find it that way as well. I'm just kind of working my way around. And this gives us kind of like a little bit of a vintage touch to it. And again, I did that on all of the cards. So I just went through my stash and found really light sort of branchy stamps that I could do around the outside. I'd position them in different ways. So I'm just giving you a look here at what I've done. And one thing that's nice if you've never done this before is you can try it out before you've taken a whole bunch of time to paint your main image. So if you stamp something in the background and you don't like it, all you've done is paint the background. You haven't spent a lot of time painting the image. So it's a little bit less scary. Now I'll go in and start painting the main image. Now all of these you can do as much shading as you love to do or the least amount that you like to do. The images, the stamps, the illustrations can stand on their own without a lot of darks and light shading to bring them to life because the illustration itself is such high quality. So you can do whatever you like. For these, I like a pretty simple, whimsical look to the painting, kind of a storybook look that is not meant to look perfect, which is nice for me because I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to crafting or much of anything. So I'm just going in here and just coloring around the outside, kind of blending that out. And if you want more details about how I like to paint, my watercoloring techniques, I'll put a link to a video that goes slower than this down in the YouTube description box for you as well. So we'll move on now here to his body. And I like that lighter gray ink for these hedgies in particular. I think it gives it look like it's been hand sketched right there on your paper as opposed to like a dark black outline that gives more of like a coloring book feeling to it. But I will go in and darken the eyes with a Faber-Castell PITT Artist pen with an extra small journaling tip, just a waterproof marker with a teeny tiny tip that I can use to just color over the eyes and the nose. And I think that gives it a little more life and makes it not look faded. I'll give him some cheeks, his cheeks a little blush and kind of darken up some of this here. If I go too dark before it dries, I can go in with a fairly dry brush and lift some color, but I often start light and then add more. So you can add more layers. Watercolor is very forgiving like that. Now I went ahead and dried that, and now I'll do the heart. And I think as the color goes on this, you can see that that image really stands out to you as the main image, while that branch background stamping starts to kind of push more to the background. We'll just darken up the color a little bit, mostly just fiddling around here. That's part of the fun for me. And that's another good thing about painting. It just kind of forces you to just slow down a little bit. Here I'm going in and just darkening up the eyes, and you'll see what a difference that makes. Really small step, but I think is just a really, just makes all the difference. And it is that simple. I just added a sentiment and added this to a standard A2 size card, 4¼ by 5½ inches. I popped up the panel, which is also a great thing if you have any warping due to the water. Just put your foam adhesive along the back, the strips along the back, and it'll help flatten everything out. So I'll give you a look here at all of the different cards that I created. There you can see that dimension. Using this sketch and this idea of kind of that main focal point image, nice and bright, a little bit of color for the background, and then kind of some vintage inking and stamping. You can do it in different sizes. And again, these are great for any occasion. Anytime you want to send loving wishes to someone, it could be for encouragement or a birthday love, anniversary, a simple friendship card, or hugs. Just because thinking of you, these would all be great for that. I added just a couple of die cut butterflies in there to pull some of that pink up towards the top of the card. Here I added just a little torn edge and a die cut, so you can play around with different ways that you want to embellish the sketch. Also, before you go, this is just a reminder that this video is part of a series of sketches created to help you buzz through your stash. So if you'd like to see how I did all of my preparation in advance and my setup for my stash boxes and my sketch box, it's a really helpful system for getting in there and using what you love. I'll link to that video for you down in the YouTube description box below. And I'd love to know which one of these cards is your favorite. Lots of variety of images on these, and I'd love to know which one speaks to you. Leave me a comment below. I read all of the comments and appreciate all of you so very much. Thanks for watching.